crash the car. Then out of trouble, escape from my gas car. Whoa. And you talk like someone else.
Ready? Hey, welcome back. Thanks for everybody for hanging out. I don't know about you all, but that last panel actually gave me some chills. It's a great industry to be in. It was a super insightful panel we just had. Kind of give you an overview of all the work that goes on behind the scenes of some of these great artists we all love and follow so closely. Maybe even some of these guys that you follow on social media or show up to their shows, buy their merch. So kind of following up that last panel, you can kind of, now we're going to bring up some of the front men and even Nick Major, our own APTV correspondent, who I was happy to get in touch with because I see the dude like 3 times a year, and every time it's a bit more fun, and he's probably a bit more tan. So without any further ado, I bring on all these talented gentlemen.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. We are here to talk about social media. Thank you so much for anybody that was here for the first panel. Thank you for joining us for that. Anyone that came specifically for this one, thank you for braving the rain and finding this out-of-the-way building. So yeah, we're here to talk about social media, something we're all familiar with, but probably all have something to learn about. Maybe we could just start by going down the line and having everybody introduce themselves for anyone who may not be familiar with you.
Hey, guys. My name is Telly, and I am in the band The Word Alive.
My name is Nick Major. I work for Alternative Press. I do video content, interviews, all that jazz.
My name is Spencer, and I sing in the band Ice Nine Kills.
My name is Kenneth, and I play drums in Too Close to Touch.
Cool. Well, maybe we could start with just kind of talking a little bit about how each of you approach social media. So everyone's voice on social media is a little bit different. You know, some people want to broadcast every detail of their day, like here's what I ate for lunch. Other people use it just to promote projects they're involved with. Other people tell jokes. Like, how do you approach it? How did you find your voice, and what makes that voice right for you?
I think with most things in life in general, but social media is no different. I think balance is a good key. For me, I do, all my personal stuff. I do most of the bands, and if you just do one thing only ever, I think that's it becomes stale. So for me, what I try to do is I try to balance. Here's some photos of us that are more candid. Here's things that are like on stage. Here is what it's like to be in the studio. Here is me expressing myself and maybe my views on some world events. I think as I've gotten a little bit older, showing that it's okay to care about the things that are going on in the world, and there's nothing wrong with expressing your opinions. I think most people follow, each of us because they want to know a little bit more in depth what we're like as people, and not just this, wall of something that might not be real. So I think balance for me, I kind of do a little bit of everything, post some funny memes, or at least they're funny to me. And
Sid.
Snapchat, like I like acting, which is weird because despite being in a band, I'm actually kind of very shy person. And so I like creating characters on Snapchat, and it's kind of like an alter ego, I guess, and based off of my experiences. So yeah, that's kind of what it is for me.
For me, I love social media because I can use it as kind of a branch to allow people to see more personally who I am, but then also I can balance it with professionally and allowing myself to kind of develop a personality within the scene that I love to work in. And the great thing about social media is that it's free. it's at your fingertips, and it is an audience that is absolutely endless. So the way that I approach it is just knowing that the more and more you build up, just the potential and possibility that continues to grow with it. Because, say, for example, one thing that I want to do most in this scene is just be an interviewer in this scene, kind of a personality. And that is one thing that social media allows to do like nothing has before. When we were all growing up, we had one social media. It was MySpace. And that was the one thing that started it all. And there was like artists that got big off of that stuff, like Jeffree Star and all that kind of stuff. But as it started to progress more, social media has gotten more and more intimate. Back in the MySpace days, all that we could really do was do bulletins and share comments with each other. But then we got Twitter, and that allowed us to kind of do little shout outs here and there. And then we got Instagram, and it allowed us to do little pictures here and there. And now we have Snapchat, which is like the most intimate one, because we can literally just video something and post it for everybody to watch. And for me, being someone who's so personality driven, if you ever watched my Snapchats, I get really annoying on it. And that's just what I love to do. But so yeah, I think social media is a great platform to potentially grow your career on. So if there's any of you out there who are like photographers, or who are videographers, or like aspiring personalities in any world, YouTube, whatever, make the best of it, because possibilities are endless. Social media has taken me much further than I ever expected. So it is what you do with it. Just be smart with it, and I don't know, brand yourself off of it, kill it. Spencer, what do you think about social media?
I think the mistake that a lot of people make is posting too much. I think with social media,
That's me, guys.
yeah, and this is directed at you actually, Nick. Less is more. I think that one really interesting post is better than 20 posts about, what you had for lunch or what kind of nacho cheese you prefer on your popcorn. Again,
Well, if you have good nacho cheese, hold up. A few posts here and there don't matter.
yeah, my whole answer is basically just directed at Nick. But yeah, I think that people, follow bands' social media and follow public figures because they want to learn more about their lives. But at the same time, for me, I think that giving away too much kind of hurts the mystery behind certain people. And I think that always make sure your post has something important to say. And I think that people will value your posts more if you put more thought into them. And I think that, that's the most important thing with social media. Don't overuse it. I think it's important to post, about your band's, latest record, latest music video, but don't push it down people's throats, and kind of, use it in moderation. I think that when world events happen or important things are going on, politically or socially or whatever, I think it's important to make a statement about it, because I think that your followers are interested in what you have to say. So I think it's always nice to sort of comment on what's going on in the world and, just have fun with it. And I think Nick does a great job. Telly, too.
Yeah, Telly's okay. No, I'm just kidding. Telly's Snapchat game is strong. Anybody watch this guy on Snapchat?
No.
He's good. Everybody knows Sid, right? Enthralling character. Kenneth, take it away. What do you have to say?
I kind of sit like right in the middle of all of that. Like, I'm not always constantly posting and like talking about my nacho cheese, but every once in a while I have had a meal that was just like right there, and I had to Instagram.
Can you reflect on one? What is one meal where you're like, ugh, I usually don't do this, but Instagram, what's up?
Cotihan in San Diego.
What is that?
It's a burrito place. I love burritos.
Favorite kind of burrito?
That would be a tweet. That's a good tweet. I think it's like somewhere in the middle. I definitely think that, you can overpost. It kind of depends on the personality that you want to portray. But it is important to like, post about your business, but you want people to want to, look at your socials for even more than just like your craft. You want it to be interesting, and in all sense of it, you want people to kind of get to know you. It's like opening up a window for them to look in on what you do. And I mean, as far as like posting, like I have sponsors we all have sponsors, but like sharing like what
Like
kind of
AA
drums.
sponsors or?
Oh yeah. Hi, I'm Kenneth.
Hi,
I'm
I'm
an
Nick.
alcoholic. But I'm not, by the way.
I'm
But
straight
My
edge.
sponsor's here, I think. He's in the
Is he
back.
really?
No.
What's he wearing? No, yeah, just like sharing the companies that I work with and like showing, kids if they're interested, like what I use personally for my gear. And I know they'd be interested in a lot of stuff that these gentlemen use. And So there's stuff like that, but like they said, be fun, have fun with it. Like it was made to have a good time with. I mean, it has like, set off a lot of people's careers, Nick. But
Hey guys.
Well, you guys all touched on kind of a common theme, which is curating the personality that you share online in whatever way feels right to you. On the other hand, sometimes you meet people that are a totally different person IRL than they are, online, and that's kind of weird. How do you kind of find that line between being thoughtful about curating the online persona that you put forth without it being just like a fake, weird persona?
I mean, for me, for the better part of things, it's kind of what you see is what you get. Sometimes I'm more serious. Sometimes I'm more just trying to have a good time. And I think that is real life. And I think what I try to portray is that it's okay to sometimes, you're the weird one. Sometimes you're the funny one. Sometimes you're the serious one. When I meet people, I don't think that especially if it's maybe after a show and not so much social media. I think social media is more of a window into my actual personality. When I'm on stage, I know that the guys can relate. It's like a switch goes off, and that's like something else entirely that I couldn't be or portray off stage, because it's not I'm not trying to get you to jump up and down while I'm like, being
In
like,
the
hey, what's your
catering
name? And do a circle pit around me. So maybe I should start doing that and get people warmed up for the shows. But for me, like I kind of like, I think what Spencer said earlier, like you don't want to give too much, because there is like a sense now that I feel like, because there are so many different social media accounts, that it's almost like you do have to share everything, and each one is kind of a little bit different. Like Nick said, like you have Snapchat, which is very personal. It's like not high quality video, photos, and it's just kind of like, this is real life. Instagram is, I think, like what Spencer was saying, like I try to be more like well thought out with what I post things that are more of a higher quality, because if you're going through like a feed, like if you're just being honest, if you're posting something, it is for some sort of reaction, whether it's you are asking a question and you want comments, whether it's here's this awesome moment in my life that I'm sharing. I do think it's a little more important to be quality over quantity when it comes to there. Twitter is kind of its own beast, and sometimes
you guys even use Twitter?
Twitter is actually probably one of my favorite ones, because and if you do follow me, you know that sometimes I like to stir the pot with things. Last night, if anyone's aware of what's going on right now with Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, Taylor Swift, I posted right before I went to sleep, who is Taylor Swift, what is a Kim Kardashian, and what's up Kanye? And I haven't had that many T Swift fans angry in a minute.
I'm not sure what happened. What
Kelly,
happened?
calm down.
And so, but like,
What
I kind of
feel
use
you.
it in that way sometimes, where it's like poking fun at the things that people are taking way too seriously in life, that they definitely shouldn't be. At the end of the day, people freaking out over celebrities and, what burrito spot they went to, I think that's a little excessive.
Come on, man.
What was it called again?
It was good.
What was it called?
Hey, I love
I'm gonna
burritos.
check it out.
I love burritos.
I know.
A lot of sniping on this panel
Oh,
today.
it's
a little
it's
uncomfortable.
getting heated. It's gonna get hot in here.
It's gonna be 8 people talking at one time. We're gonna get 3 more up here. Are we on to me?
Yes.
Oh,
we are
cool.
on to you.
So for social media, for me, as in, so we were talking about kind of what personality we portray on social media.
Yeah, and
versus real life.
how to be thoughtful about it without being fake.
Yeah. I don't know, because I guess the way I approach social media is I'm always usually, I feel like for each social media that I'm on, I'm pretty authentic for how I want to represent myself on those social medias. Like on Snapchat, as we've said many times now, how it's just such a fun on-the-spot, almost, it's like the closest to a live streaming app you can have, but without it being live streaming, because you have 24-hour period to watch stuff. So like Telly said, it's just like the fun, low-quality app where you're weird and random, and that's just what I'm like. That's what I've always been like. I've always been really like hyper and random and annoying, and that's how I represent myself on social medias. So I've never felt like I really have faked who I am on it. That's why whenever I meet people, I feel like I kind of I feel like I'm somewhat the same person. But one thing that's crazy about social media, though, is how we're talking about how it gives everyone a look inside your lives. Is then you meet people from all over the country and world who all of a sudden know so much stuff about you. That is, it's cool. It's just crazy because you're like, oh wow, I thought that was such an insignificant post that I made, and you guys know everything about me. But I'm pretty true on Instagram. Like Telly said, it varies really how you post stuff on it. Because I guess my Instagram personality, it's just so much more photo based and much more just kind of like if I have an interview, I'll come out with a promo for it because that's more of a platform that I think people can use as kind of a little resume type thing almost, where like you're scrolling down and you see what someone's done with their life. But for the most part, I'm just me. And when you meet me in real life, you'll realize I'm just as annoying in person as I am on Snapchat, which was probably a little disappointing for some people.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, Telly doesn't hang out with me anymore because of how annoying I am. Spencer, what about you?
I think part of the reason that social media is fun is because, it shows the dichotomy of someone's stage persona and then how they are in real life. So, when you think about someone like Marilyn Manson, it's all dark and spooky, but, maybe he'll post a picture of himself taking his little puppy to Petco or something. And I think, I don't know if he's seen that. I know he's here today. I don't know if he's here.
Are you in the audience, Marilyn Manson? Can
think
you
he's in the
stand
back
up
right
if
over
you're
there.
here?
He's sitting in the corner in the
Well,
dark.
real
I
Manson,
see you,
please
man.
stand up.
But yeah, I always think stuff like that is kind of cool, because I think that, fans view us in one light on stage, and I think it's important to show that we are really just kind of dorks in real life,
Except for me, I'm not
Except
in a
for
band.
Nick. Nick is the coolest person that I know. But that's how I like to do things, and I think that people appreciate that we're just normal human beings. We might get on stage and jump off things and dive into the crowd and ask for circle pits like Telly was saying, but at the end of the day, we're just normal guys who put our pants on, one leg at a time. Or not at all.
Something
Nick.
tells
Telly
me
has a guy
Nick
for that.
Something tells me Nick just kind of dive rolls and
Right.
lands
Yeah.
in them somehow.
I actually don't remember how I put these on, but
I have a feeling
got
he
on
stitches
somehow.
them around his leg.
Your
like-
fly's up, by the way. It's up.
it's up.
Yeah,
It's good.
I don't even have a fly. It's buttons. It's just buttons.
But you still checked, which
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Spencer was looking out for a homie, and then I
We know-
realized he was
we
just
know the
I'm
goal.
just telling you it's up.
throwing me a curveball.
No announcement? No.
I think we'll take it to you.
Carry on, my wayward son.
I pretty much feel the same about it as they do. You just take it from social media. Like each outlet is kind of represents something different. For Twitter, it's just like a very like if you're gonna post the burrito post, I would do it on there just because it's just a small thought. Like it's not Twitter's just thoughts after thoughts. So if you're gonna post, sporadically or just about anything about your day, I would probably keep it there, and then like Telly was saying, for like Instagram, keep it more polished, like, because it's a visual thing. Like you want people to see into your life, but kind of pick and choose what you allow them to see, and keep it well thought out. And then Facebook, I would say, that's more like, I don't even know if anyone even uses Facebook anymore, but if you're gonna use it, probably just keep that one. That's where you can write the most. That's where like don't have limits on what you post, and it's kind of like a mix of the visual and the like content that you put with it. So and then Snapchat, it's silly, so do whatever you want on there. It's fun. But yeah, I definitely like say that there's different outlets for different aspects of what you want to tell an audience, and it depends on how transparent you want to be with your life and what kind of image you want to portray. But kind of decide that before you start doing it, because once you start making the posts, you kind of got to own them. So I would issue that warning.
Yeah.
Can't get anything off the internet that you put on.
Well, Nick has said many things today. But one thing that I wanted to pick up on in particular,
True.
which was, you talked about like using Instagram as a resume. And I guess so one thing I wanted to ask you guys about is, we've probably all had that moment where we look at somebody's Instagram resume and we all think, oh man, this person's life is so much better than mine. I suck, and I think we probably all deal with that like on a daily basis. So how do you guys personally deal with that, and what advice would you have for everyone else who's looking at everyone looking at their peers, people in bands, and they're convinced that everyone's life is so much better than theirs?
I feel like that's definitely a dangerous mentality to have for your own happiness. One thing when I was younger, I think I got caught up in that more, focused on what other people were doing, what other people were saying, what kind of posts they were making, and I'm like, oh, I have to do it like this. I think social media, what it's supposed to be is, if someone's following you, they don't want to see you trying to live your life like someone else. They want you to see you in what you're doing, and whether that's you have 10 followers and that's your family, friends, or you have 10 million, it doesn't matter. They're following you for a reason. And I think that as people get older, I know some of the people here are younger, some are a little bit older. Just as you grow up, you progress in life, and you understand through your own experiences that someone else's life is not necessarily what it looks like, and that as long as you're focusing on yourself, your own happiness, you kind of, you can admire, you can enjoy someone else's happiness and their path and what they're doing in life, and maybe even be inspired by it. But the second you start becoming envious, and the second you start focusing on what they're doing and what you're not doing, it's kind of like the whole focusing on what you don't have instead of focusing on what you do have. And when you can be happy with what you have, it doesn't mean that you're not going to work harder to have more, or of whatever that may be, whether that's personal, professional success, more plays on your band song, or whatever it is. I think it's more about, you have to focus on yourself first and be inspired by other people, but don't let the envy creep in. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous and unnecessary if you're using someone else's social media as a way for yourself to get jealous or envious. Kind of like what Telly was saying. If you see someone's social media, and if you're basing their pictures or something that they're doing and creating happiness for you, and it's something that you think looks awesome, then use it for inspiration, and just use it to think like, oh, look at what this guy is doing with his posts and with his life. That is what I want to do. And rather than getting jealous or angry about anything, just make those posts happen for yourself then. Because I don't know, if you see stuff you like, just go out and get it. And no one should ever get upset or jealous over seeing what someone else posts, because that is not worth it. That's especially if it's someone that you don't know, hypothetically, because then you're just getting yourself into a little low, lame spot for no reason. So use it for inspiration, other people's posts, or use it just to look at for fun, but do not get emotionally involved with someone's Instagram account to where you get sad because they're doing cool stuff that you wish that you were doing.
Agreed, on all counts. Just use posts that you see with, someone has a nicer car or a nicer house or a better looking dog.
I was gonna say a cuter dog. Not
Cuter
possible.
dog.
Sorry, Drac.
Use it as inspiration.
Colby?
To try and
Cutest girl, cutest boy.
Sorry, Spence.
to try to accomplish what you want to attain in your life. And if that doesn't work, you can just Google image something and pretend it's your house or your car or your dog. That works too.
I agree. And then just like the Google image thing, like, don't believe everything you see, on the internet. It's just social media. Like,
It's a lot easier to make yourself look cooler on
It's
Instagram
a lot,
when you're
like,
controlling your posts.
you could just be passing by just like a really nice house. You could just take a picture of it and be like, look where I was today, and not live there. Or just see someone else's dog, like Colby. Be like, hey, look at this dog. This is not my dog, but I'm gonna pretend it is on the internet.
Yeah.
And don't let that stuff bring you down. Don't let it get away, take away from your happiness. Like Telly said, like, create your own happiness, and if anything, use it as inspiration to go out and get the things that you want. If you see something that someone else has that you would like to do, work hard, do what you have to do, and stay focused on that vision. Hopefully that's not just a house, because a house won't make you happy, but find what does make you happy, go for it, and then you'll create your own awesome social media if that's what you want to do on your journey to do that. So just don't let that stuff, what other people are doing, affect you as a person. Either gain inspiration from it or move on and do what you have to do to be happy.
So we've talked a lot about authenticity and being true to yourself, and how important that is. a challenge, or I guess an interesting wrinkle on that is that I don't know if this is the case for any of you guys, but as bands get bigger, oftentimes their management team will run their social media to some extent, and so when you see a post from a band, it might be from their management team just because the band can't possibly manage their own social media all the time. And so that can feel a little bit weird to fans. What's your take on that? And, kind of how do you feel about, letting sponsors, management, people like that kind of have some control over your social media?
Well, how the Word Alive in particular does it is 99% of everything you see posted is from us, but there are certain things that it's not necessary for it to be us. A tour announcement, what will usually happen is our publicist will ask for, a quote on the tour. I'll write that out, email it, and then they'll include that in a post that includes all these dates. And it's not that I'm lazy by any means, but the bane of my existence would be inputting dates onto Facebook. And it's not necessary. That doesn't take away from anything. Now, if it's like a post of like, hey, we need to, cancel this show, or here's this event that we experienced firsthand, and, this show is amazing, and we need to let you know how amazing it was, that's going to come from us. But there's also extenuating circumstances like, now that, our bands are traveling internationally, there's different time zones, there's different things. Sometimes there's stuff where we know that we're going to have to post and we might be on a plane, or we're sleeping, because it's different time zone. And not all social media accounts have what's called scheduled posts. So there's certain things that like our management will step up, and if they see something that we don't have, access to posting, they'll post on our behalf. But usually you'll know because it's very robotic, because it's just, another thing in their day. It's another, like the last panel was talking about, some emails are just like, yes, no, okay. It's, that's like more the manager mentality of just like being efficient and getting the base of what you need out there, and that's it. It's not like an emotional connection from years of connecting with fans.
Well, I'm not in a band.
But I'm sure you have lots of people that would love to have you post on their behalf.
And but I'm guessing for the most part, though, what's at least interesting with the band aspect of it is, although they do have the band accounts where it will be managers sometime and stuff, I think that the main connection from fans comes on your personal accounts, where it's always you guys, regardless. I'm guessing managers and stuff don't post on your personal accounts.
Allow that. I do know bands that they hate social media so much
that they don't even touch
but
theirs.
It's necessary, that they do allow. And that's a whole other thing, too. Like, you give kind of free reign to someone. And I understand, like, some people are just, like, whether it's they're busy or whether it's not a priority to them, it doesn't mean that they can't get information out. You see it with, I think, more with high-profile celebrities. They're not sitting there on their phones all day. And
especially older celebrities who are so out of tune with
yeah, it's, it's like, I don't picture George Clooney, sitting and scrolling through Twitter and being like, this is going on right now. But you're going to see something of, whether it's a movie or, something that is relevant that his fans would like to know, that it doesn't really matter who typed it. It's just like getting the information out there. So it definitely depends on who you are, what level you're at, and also what Kenneth mentioned earlier of like what level of transparency you start with too. It's like if you start with one thing and then you slowly fade in, or just one day you're like, nope, I'm done posting, here's this. It's kind of, I think, a weird situation to put yourself in.
People will notice, like, if you do that. Like, it's just like anything in life. If just maintaining is like a good thing. Like, either grow on something, but you can never, like, if you start big, you got to continue big. Like, it's one of those things. Or people will be like, wow, I remember when I used to see like a, dog posts all the time. Now I just see this robotic, like, hi, I will be here at this time, come see me. And then it's just like, okay, he didn't say that, or what happened to him? It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I think fans can see through things being not authentic, and I think that, as Tully was saying, some posts are okay for management and labels to do, just the album's coming out, or we're gonna be here. But I think that it's important for your band to have its own voice through social media, and whatever persona you're trying to put out there. I think that the wording means a lot, and I think that it's important to stay connected with your fans, and I think they can see through posts that are not made by the band. And I think that bands that see the most success are the ones that connect with you guys in the closest way. So I think it is important, no matter how big the band is, to do 99.9% of it.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you guys, being in bands. So this is like the first generation, really, where like you're all social media. Like all your fans have the access to you that they have like never before. Do you guys like that, or would you have preferred being artists back in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, where it was almost more kind of elite? It was a more elite life where you weren't sharing Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter posts constantly about what you were doing. When fans met you, it was more of like a, oh my God, I only ever see you on stage. Or do you like being able to have that personal connection with them?
It's not that I dislike having it now, but I do think that it was probably beneficial for things like personal relationships and I think, family things and things that are meant to be private that almost feel like you have to share certain things.
It's like a drama. It's
Yeah.
like our lives have become like a drama that people want, like Kim Kardashian,
Exactly.
Taylor Swift and all that.
Exactly.
Their lives are now like a drama. So it's hard to take anything seriously in your life when everyone else is just like watching it for fun. It kind of puts you in like a weird kind of spot.
Yeah, it's weird because social media, has helped our bands, all of our bands have careers and do what we love. And so like I said, I don't dislike it, but there is a clear change from music pre-social media and the quality of it, the way fans respected it, and then post-social media. And social media and streaming and, all those things, anyone can see the negative impact that it's had. Now, it does have obviously a lot of positives to it, and you can use it in a positive way, but that's also like you just can accept that something has changed and make the best of it. That doesn't mean that you would wish for it all over again.
Yeah.
And I think what we're doing is artists and musicians and just people in the entertainment world in general is we are making the best of it, and that's all you can really do at this point because it's obviously not going to change.
Yeah, that's progress. Music in general. Like everything we do, like being on the road, like touring, traveling, writing records, like everything you do, you just have to make the best of it and like push forward because things are going to happen. Social media is going to happen. Like new outlets are going to form where you're just like, whoa, and it's going to turn you all around. But the only thing you can really do is like adapt and keep moving. So like, yeah, I would have loved to be like a rock star in the 70s. That would have been insane.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure trashing hotel rooms doesn't happen anymore.
And selling records back then.
Yeah, selling records.
Easier.
Yeah, so because the internet kind of killed the record sales, I think.
Oh, destroyed it.
Obviously. But then with that, also social media is also giving the chance to
start careers.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
there's a lot more musicians and bands and like music in general being created because of social media, like because of all these outlets. Like you can sit in your bedroom and get some decent gear, make a song, put it on SoundCloud, put it on YouTube, and then you'll
Sonny.
What?
Sonny. Sonny Moore. He made his first.
What's he doing now anyway? He's
Skrulls.
And I think
Skrillex.
I think he's only like 20 something.
Oh, he's very young.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's not like 50.
But that's another thing, though. Even as an artist, technology's gotten to a point now to where you guys can literally sit in your bedroom and make something to the same quality that back in the day you had to pay tens of thousands of dollars for.
And that's like Telly was saying, it's like it's got pros and cons because that just makes our jobs a little. It makes it easier to come out of nowhere and do that if you to an extent. But at the same time, the pond has become bigger. Because of that, there's so much pressure. Like every day, you're just like, oh my God, there's like a million other kids doing the exact same thing as I am, and that goes into social media and branding yourself and deciding what you're gonna do before, like thinking of posts before it, like going back into the whole social media thing. Like you really need to plan out like what you're gonna post. Like if your managers are gonna post something, it needs to be something that was discussed. And like Telly said, like if you're like on a plane or you're asleep or you're on tour and you don't have service, because that happens a lot, especially on Warped, you need to be on the same page as like your unit. If anyone's gonna have control over your voice, they need to know what your voice is. They need to have a very clear perspective on what it is you and your band want to say. But that goes back into like there's just so many. So being original is like becoming like a stressful thing, like having to go up against so many people with the same outlet as you and the same reach, and being able to like connect with anyone. Like it's getting harder every day just to be a band, to be someone that you feel is unique and share your art with people. So, but there's also the pros. I don't want to be like completely negative, because it does make it really fun to like be able to share what you're doing with people and share your art. And like everyone wants that chance. That's an artist. Like you want it to be heard for them, or seen or touched or whatever it is. So I think it's got pros and cons, but like Telly said, you just have to adapt and like keep progressing, keep moving forward.
I think one of the dimensions that I've seen over the years of how social media has influenced music is that a lot of people kind of put the cart before the horse, and they focus on building their following and being famous. And, you know, it almost seems like they want to be internet famous more than they want to actually make music. What would you say to someone who's kind of overly focused on building their online following before they've really thought about their music a lot?
Focus on your craft first.
It's, you know, it's one of those things that it goes back to like anyone can do things. So you're going to have people who aren't really passionate about what they're doing still being able to put out something that is of quality, which I think, you know, waters down, and it takes away from, you know, the respect that people have as a whole for what we do. And they're like, oh, well, it's so easy now. You know, it's not hard for you. And that's not necessarily accurate. I think that one of the biggest things is if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're a fan and you can, like we were talking about, you see through things. Like if you're that fan and you see through something, you don't have to support something just because, you know, it's like the in thing or the cool thing. Like look for substance, look for people who like actually are trying to connect and do something that isn't just like on a whim or just because they can. Like when you're on stage, it should be because you eat, sleep, breathe like what you do. And that whether that's you're a painter, whether that's you're an actor, whether that's you're a writer, no matter what it is, whether, you know, you are a manager, you are on the other side of the music industry, like we need all the people who are genuinely passionate. And if that's 1 billion people, then that's 1 billion people. But if it's, you know, going the way it seems to be right now, where it is like people are chasing being famous or popular before they're chasing being good, you know,
what they do.
it's hurting everyone.
Yeah, so I used to try to do the whole music thing. I used to be in a few bands and that stuff, but then I ended up moving to LA. But what was interesting for me is then I got the AP gig, to where it kind of at the same time my social media thing intertwined pretty much at the exact same time as me also trying to become an interviewer in this scene. We had a great chat the other day, by the way. So did we.
Did.
We had a great chat the other day too.
We did.
Where was I?
You were not invited.
The reschedule. You didn't. Hey.
Oh, okay.
But
I remember that today on the red carpet.
But I agree. I think the most important thing that everyone needs to focus on is what you really want to do. Because at the end of the day, it is so unimportant how many followers you have and stuff online. Because that's not going to make you happy. And if you think it is, your priorities are wrong. Because first, focus on what you love, as they are all focusing on music. And then let the audience and stuff follow after. What's your experience?
Agreed. You know, I think that, you know, for the foundation of a band, you know, to be successful, you need to find what makes you stand out before you start, you know, flooding the marketplace with insane amounts of marketing. You know, mainly because, you know, you only have one chance to make a first impression. So if you have kind of shoddy material and you go out there and try to get it out to everyone, you know, they probably won't listen to the next time it comes around unless you change the band name, which we've done several times.
I was going to say, that sounds like a personal
personal problem for me. But yeah, I think, you know, the advice that I could give to, you know, bands that are trying to stand out is you need to find that X factor that allows you to, rise above, all the other stuff that's coming out there. And the way that I kind of look at that is, think about when you go to a movie and you're sitting in the theater and you're seeing all these coming attractions for these movies. And for me personally, it's like 99.9% of the time, it's like seen it before. It's either like some romantic comedy or some, Bridesmaids ripoff with Melissa McCarthy. It's like I've seen this all before. But like, once every year, or maybe once every 2 years, there's like a trailer that I see that makes me go, I need to see that. I need to see that movie. I don't want to wait for Netflix or on demand. It could be the cinematography, it could be the name of the movie, the actors, the tagline. For whatever reason, it speaks to you, and that's the band that you have to be.
Oh yeah, I agree with all of that. It just like, it ties into more than just like the music industry, like, but
is everyone
It's
okay?
a broken plate.
Hey.
Oh,
That was Marilyn Manson,
is that
I think.
what is that?
Maryland, he's going crazy again,
Up to
guys.
his old tricks.
But it goes into like more than just the music industry. I mean, like you might not, okay, let's just say like if you were a person who built houses and you just wanted to be the most famous person that ever built houses, but you didn't know how to build a house. It's kind of the same concept. If you're trying to be a musician or a painter or an artist in any sense, if I was trying to become famous before I could play drums and I was just like bought a drum set, took a bunch of pictures of it, was like, oh, I'm in this band, here's like some music recorded, but I just didn't know how to play drums, or these guys didn't know how to sing or scream or whatever. Yeah.
Still don't.
Like, and you came out, like you would notice that. So you can market yourself and become famous. You could have, for however you did it, you could get, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. But if you show up on the day of the show where all these people that have been anticipating, whatever it is that you've been advertising for the past year to gain this following, if you can't like deliver on that day, then I couldn't even fathom what that would be like.
A huge ball of embarrassment.
Yeah, it'd be bad. And then all of that positive, if you could have built positive press or whatever it is, marketing from that, it would all come right back. It's just like going back to where we said, where you start, like making a first impression, like that's the base. So like if it's like this weak little thing because you couldn't deliver on the craft that you've been talking yourself up about, then no one's going to come to the next show. No one's going to come see your next art exhibit. Like they're going to be like, okay, this guy was just a bunch of talk and knew how to use the internet, which is, that's a whole different job. Go be someone that can go be a marketing director. But, you need to know how to do your craft. You need to perfect that. You need to write good music. You need to paint a beautiful painting. You need to focus on that. That's everything else comes second. Probably way before that. Like it's all about delivering your message.
Well, I think another way that social media has influenced music or the music industry is that it makes it easy for people who are really good looking or charismatic to like kind of instantly get a jump start, and that's not their fault. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think for some people, like we can't all look like Andy Biersack or Ollie Sykes, and
We wish.
yeah, right. And so some people feel like, well, how am I supposed to like compete with that? I love music, but I don't look like that. I don't feel like I'm cool on Snapchat. Like, how should those people like deal with that?
Get a cute dog.
Or plastic
That's-
surgery.
Yeah, I
That's
was
what
gonna
I
say
did.
plastic surgery.
No, I think that's a horrible approach to take. When someone starts like limiting themselves based off their own physical appearance or based off of it, kind of what we were talking about earlier about if you look at someone's life and you get jealous about it. I think people need to be, first off, if you want to do something, you need to realize the potential that you have, and you need to be able to make that happen rather than looking at someone else and seeing what they've done with their looks or with their personality. That is completely irrelevant for whatever you want to do with your life, I think. And maybe you can use them as inspiration. You can use them as like someone that you look up to, but you can't say, oh, this person did it, but look how they look or look how they act. So there's no way that I can do it. They did it by being themselves. So you need to be able to do it by being yourself, which everybody can if they just work at it.
And at some point, you still have to work hard and, be somewhat of a decent person. Like the people, you mentioned Andy in particular, like he's done so much good that, in a lot of ways could even overshadow what he's done in music. And he does a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't even know. So it's like, looks can be one thing, but at the end of at the end of the day, like if what's good inside or if what's inside is not good, then like we said earlier, like those followers, it doesn't matter. Like that's not what is going to define your life. Being comfortable in your own skin. There's people who, one person could have some sort of deformity that's just like, and I would understand this, but just kind of takes them more like, this sucks, like, I'm never going to do what I want to do. And then there's someone who has that same issue that maybe is like, you know what, it doesn't matter, and I'm going to rise above this. And that's the mentality you have to have no matter what it is, whether it's the color of your hair that you hate or the way your skin looks. None of that matters, because if you're a good person who works hard, who is able to be inspired and then in turn inspire others, that will trump any physical attributes you have. And there's probably tens, hundreds of thousands of people that could, prove that. You could look on Google. There's people who are models who are not the stereotypical model, and it's because they had confidence, they believed, in themselves, and that whole, aura, it's infectious.
I agree. I think that, good art and good product can transcend what you look like. At the end of the day, that's not of great importance. I mean, look at Nick. Nick, has
he's overcome so much.
Yeah. I mean, just the
My
facial
physical
deformities
stability
alone.
It's been tough, guys.
Yeah. But with enough surgery,
Pulled it
he's
through.
managed to, he looks great. Look at him.
Thanks to the grace of God.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Squats.
there's plenty of rock stars out there that are not attractive. Just look at the people on
Just
this
look at this
stage.
bunch
Look
of
at us.
monsters up
Yeah.
here today, guys.
Yeah, look at my Snapchat. It's not pretty.
It's bad. I
You
mean,
would not
Kelly and I
believe-
had to show up here at like 5 a.m. for the
Yeah.
For the makeup.
Botox.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even want to know how much
You
makeup.
did your own, but it
I
looks
did.
good.
Oh, thank you. I've had practice. I have a little sister.
There you go.
She taught me everything I know.
You look great.
All right, last question I have, which is about haters. It's something that we've all dealt with, and I'm sure you guys have all gotten lots of it. And you have thick skins, but no matter what, somebody catches you with the wrong thing at the wrong time when you feel sensitive about something. They say something, you're like, God damn it! Like, it hurts. You get angry. How do you deal with that? And what advice would you have for everyone else who maybe doesn't have as thick of a skin, doesn't have as much experience as you guys do dealing with that stuff?
I mean, I wish I could say I've never regretted a response. I've definitely, and whether it's, wrong time, whether it's I was out with Nick and he was forcing me to drink,
Because
then
that's typical me, right, Telly?
sometimes that's going to happen. It will. It's inevitable. Like you will have the worst day, maybe of your year, and right at that point where you're most vulnerable, someone will say something that just really does dig deep. Now, there's one of two ways. Obviously, there's the aggressive response, which will just perpetuate more aggressive responses, and it doesn't really ever help anything. And I'm guilty of it. I've definitely done that before, but I try not to. What I try is either A, ignore it, because that person is probably just feeding into that. Unfortunately, sometimes you get the response back if you do right and like, hey, that kind of sucks that you said that. They're like, oh man, you replied. I love you. All I wanted was just a reply from you. That is such a weird thing to me. I mean, I don't get that mentality, but I feel like you need to get out more.
Yeah, please don't do that. Please don't force responses.
You probably live most of your days with Cheeto fingers and you sit on your computer. But for me, the other side of things is you kill them with kindness. Like that's like the thing that my parents actually like did try to teach me is, there's going to be people who don't believe in you, who doubt you, who say mean things about you. A lot of times they're dealing with their own insecurities, their own issues, and they're just, projecting that on you. For me, like if someone writes something and it's like, man, I hate this. And I'm like, well, you're here for at least some reason. Like, thank you for any support you do have for us, And that's if I don't just ignore it now. But, yeah, kill them with kindness. It's kind of hard to be an asshole to someone who's just, like, really nice to you when you were an asshole to them. It's like, it's kind of a mind F you. You can finish the rest. But, yeah.
I've always found that really interesting when people leave, like, hateful comments on people's stuff that they don't know. I don't really understand the reasoning behind it. And so when I see it, I always think it's kind of funny just because, like, people have said really mean things even to me. And I don't know. I kind of like I click on their profile and I realize it's someone that I don't know. I'm just kind of like, why would you say such like a mean thing to someone that you don't know? I don't even respond to it usually. But also at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of, I just look at it kind of like, cool, well, at least what I'm doing is getting some reaction out of this person, whether it's negative or not. And it is all how you take it. I've never responded poorly. What's the meanest thing that you've said to somebody who responded poorly to you?
Oh,
Sober?
no. Yes, when you weren't with Nick.
you were with me.
I'm making myself sound like I'm an alcoholic. I really don't drink that much. I've definitely, if someone said something very personal that was not necessarily directed to me, but maybe like family or my girlfriend.
That's a whole different
or
level,
something,
though. That's just
That's
nasty.
yeah.
I've said some things that I was like, all right, baby Jesus, close your eyes. But yeah, that kind of comes with the territory of, like at the end of the day, no one has ever said, and I've been touring the Word Alive. This is our 8th year. Not one time has one person ever come up to me face to face and said anything remotely negative.
It's all online. It's all online.
Unless it's like in Germany and there's a language barrier and they're like, this time you're not so good, but last time I loved.
That's what I call European personality disorder.
And I love it. I just laugh because I'm like, they're so supportive. They just have no idea what they're.
Tonight you sucked real bad.
Yeah, but hopefully next time you better. That's those we just laugh at, but. Yeah, I've definitely said some things that are not.
It's never worth
I
it.
can't
even
repeat
giving them
it
the
even,
response.
but yeah, usually no response is the best response.
And you cannot let yourself get personally affected by that. There's no point in that. What about you? I know you get a lot of hate.
Yeah, tons.
I'm just kidding.
Way too much. I think any
Do you really?
time.
Or are you joking?
No, I don't think he does.
I don't know, but basically, anytime that any person puts themselves out there creatively, whether it's releasing an album on a major label or putting up your painting on the walls of your high school, you're putting yourself out there, and that takes bravery. And when you do that, you leave yourself open for criticism and scrutiny. That just sort of comes with the territory of being an artist. And I find the people that there are critics out there that there are positive, critiques sometimes, hey, this is good, but maybe this is a little bit better. But the kind of hate that we're talking about with this question, for me, it's like those kind of people usually are the people that don't have the bravery to put themselves out there. And that's usually why they want to tear you down. And I think I used to, like probably most of us, we used to be negatively affected by, no one likes to hear, your voice sucks or your hairline is receding or something like that, which I don't think it is. But yeah, I think you just need to sort of ignore it. I think responding to it, for me personally, I think you're giving into them. They want to rise out of you, so it's better to just ignore them or ban them from your Facebook account, which is always fun. But someone once told me a story when I was feeling down about people talking crap about whatever I was doing. There was a band in the 80s that was a heavy band, and they got a lot of hate, and the industry didn't like them, and people, told them on the industry side of things that they would never make it because they were too, punk for the metal kids and too metal for the punk kids. So they couldn't get a record deal, so their manager ended up starting his own label because no one would sign this band, and that band was Metallica. So, if you think about how crazy that is, that no one wanted to sign Metallica, and clearly we know the ending to that story. They became, and still are, one of the biggest bands of all time. So it's important to realize that, even the most successful people out there, whether it was in music or in acting, there were doubters there, and it's important to realize that just because people say you can't do something, it doesn't mean you can't. On the acting side of things, I know Jim Carrey was denied from Saturday Night Live, and he obviously went on to be one of the biggest comedic actors of all time, and went on to host the show. And yeah, I think you just have to remember that, to sort of just pick yourself up and dust yourself off, and don't let the haters get you down.
Yeah, another fun fact, Walt Disney was told he was not creative by an art teacher, and he's Walt freaking Disney. So yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, ignore the hate, do your thing. Like they're all saying, like, everyone's going to get it. Like if you do anything in your life, there's going to be someone there that just wants to be, for lack of a better term, a dick about it. So just stay focused on what you're doing if you truly believe in it, and surround yourself with people that are going to support you about it. Don't keep people around that are holding you down or back or telling you can't do something. Like Telly said with his family, like they told him all this stuff, and look where he's sitting now. So surround yourself with people that care about you. All the rest. What was that, huh?
You said look where he's sitting, and I said next to you.
Next to me.
And he
next
said
to
next to
Nick.
me.
You're doing big things.
Guys, this is an important speech.
Oh, come
Right,
on.
guys.
I'm just kidding. No, yeah, but just ignore it. Just do your thing. Be happy. Surround yourself with people that care about you and that believe in you, and the rest is just noise. So ignore the haters. And if you're going to respond to them, I don't know, just be smarter than they are. Usually they're being ignorant.
Cool. Well, we're out of time. Thanks to all four of you for joining us and dropping some knowledge. Thanks to everybody out there for sitting here in the middle of the day on a Monday and listening to these guys talk. And please join us for the next panel.